Welcome to Yield Today. I'm here with Jared Bender. He recently got back from serving a mission in upstate New York and excited to talk with him today. He's done a lot of videography, YouTube, and actually used that videography talent on his mission, which was super cool to see and hear a little bit about. So I'm excited to dive more into that with Jared. Thank you for jumping on, Jared.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, for sure. So how did your parents kind of help you explore your curiosities kind of growing up, and how did the YouTube channel come about?
Oh man. Well, first off, I'm really grateful for my parents because my dad was always about, because I have three other siblings, he was always going to support us no matter what we were interested in. He was going to support us in it. And so my older brother Bryce was really into BMX. My older sister was into like doing theater. My little sister's into music, and I'm just into making videos. So we all have our own little niches. But both of my parents were always supportive, which I think makes the biggest difference. They would, I would, they would help me find jobs to save up for camera equipment and get little things for Christmas and stuff like that. But they were always supportive. All of my videos were, we would always do a premiere on the family TV, and they would always watch my videos before they went live on YouTube. And so it was just a good family atmosphere to help me get support, and they would give suggestions on, oh, maybe cut this here or something like that. But really grateful for them with that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, and looking back, you'll always remember that, right? I remember
Mhm.
watching some of my old YouTube videos, and my grandma was watching is like these old gaming videos made with my friends, and she's like, these are cool, It's like,
Yeah.
thanks, grandma, and now she's on the other side, doing what she's doing with, with my grandpa and helping out on that side. But like, I remember that, I'm thankful for that. So
It makes a difference to have supportive people.
yes.
Have you heard of the theory of self-efficacy?
I've heard a little bit about it, but I don't really know enough to like talk much about it. So we'll let you
I
do
I
that.
only know a little bit, but the idea is like you're right here and your goal is right up to get here. And we have high self-efficacy, you bridge that gap by working hard and you have grit and stuff. But it's low when you have low self-efficacy, you see this gap and it gets you overwhelmed and you quit. And I feel like how people parent can help people have self-efficacy. And there's ways that you can grow it if you don't already have it, but there's ways to grow it. But I feel like I'm just so grateful for parents to help me get that, that I can just, it's just fun. I see that gap as exciting and like a fun adventure rather than overwhelming. And I'm like really worried about it. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to really be long term worried about, right? I have been reading this book recently from Lynn Condi that's been really good about the stewardship principle. And the idea is like when we look at more things in our life as a stewardship rather than ownership, we feel a lot better about it. So, like with your parents, for example, it's like, yes, they were asked to, raise you and all that stuff, but they don't necessarily own you. Firstly, in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we believe that, we're children of God, and that God, we're first and foremost his children. And so,
Hmm.
this thinking of it as a stewardship, you feel so much better about it. It's like, yes, I do have ownership of this, but this is something that somebody has my back.
Hmm. I love that.
Yeah. So something that came to mind when you were talking a little bit about your parents, I just had this thought come to mind of like unconditional interest. I think that's just such a beautiful thing you can give to somebody. Like you want to help them out and you want to give life to their dreams, give them wings so they can fly and stuff. How have you seen that on your mission when it comes to like reaching out to people and other parts of your life?
Well, in the classic book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, he says you can make more friends in 2 months of being genuinely interested in people than you could in 2 years of trying to have people get interested in you. And I always quoted that as a missionary to other missionaries because I think it's ironic that he said 2 years and missionaries serve for usually 2 years. And I think a lot of missionaries go about it of, hey, listen to my message. I have a message to share for you. Listen to me, and you're going to be the student here. And I noticed that when I flipped that, and I was like, tell me about your life, and you just hear about their hobbies, that's when you can start teaching to their needs and share stories that are relevant to them. Jesus taught in parables because people could relate to it. My teaching became so much more fun for me, and I think exciting for everybody when I made that shift and I wanted to listen to people, and more people wanted to hear because they felt included and loved and special, because deep down everyone is. It's just taking the energy to realize it.
Yeah, I love that thought of just like, tell me your story. Like, give me something, that I haven't heard before. And then once you've got that idea, then you can tune your instrument, you can tune your teaching to that style. And I think that's amazing, dude. That's sweet.
It was fun. It was super fun.
So it was about a year in when you got your video equipment, right? Or
Yeah.
okay.
Like halfway through my mission. So it's fun.
That's sweet.
Worked out.
So I think that's sweet because like you had wanted to make videos and stuff on the mission through social media because you were there through, a lot of pandemic and stuff. So you probably spent some time inside. I would have lost my mind. I think there was one week on my mission we were stuck inside because of a snowstorm. I was starting to lose my mind. So
Oh my
kudos
goodness.
to you,
Okay.
man.
Let me paint a picture really quick. So the what we had was every single day we could go on 2 half-hour walks. Other than
No.
that, you were inside all day. And so for those 2 half-hour walks, even though we were in podunk towns of upstate New York, you had to wear a mask. So there was no one around to even spread anything to. But we had to wear masks. So when we were outside, we our masks got nasty. And then we also, if we weren't doing the 2 half-hour walks, we were making cold calls all day. So we would type in numbers on our phone, and so it was like eight hours of phone calls to random people all day. I felt like I was prank calling for Jesus, like literally calling random numbers, like, "Hey, can I share a scripture with you?" No, oh, okay. So, but eventually we got to. You find people to teach, but I learned a lot of grit on my mission, which I'm really grateful for. I think learning how to have thick skin, I think it's a skill set that you can get, because I was born in a loving home, and so I'm pretty soft. So it was good to be out in the real world.
Yeah, I feel that. So like that's such a good practice too. Like for me, I look back at my mission, I try to think of like specific people and specific things that I learned. And a lot of that really still applies, 5 years later to things I'm doing right now. So that's
Yeah,
really awesome.
yeah. The mission, I feel like, is tailored for your experience that will help you grow. I think every single missionary can agree, or everyone that's served, it just attacks your biggest insecurities and weaknesses to make you stronger. And so it's pretty cool.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So, when you got home, like what were some of the things that were different that you weren't ready to be different, or like how was that adjustment period for you so far?
Oh, coming home from my mission,
Hmm.
a lot of people will talk about how scary it is. Maybe I'm just lucky. It was not hard at all. Like the first night I got home, I like looked down and I wasn't wearing my name tag, and I like cried. I had a solid cry with my mom and my sister. I was like, "Dang, this is rough." After that moment, I woke up the next day. My little niece, that was in town, she was jumping on the bed. She's like, "Can you read me this book?" And I was like, "I'm home. I can read books to my nieces and have fun, and I can still make videos, and I can still share the gospel." And in a lot of ways, I feel like I can be more normal and natural as a missionary, as a normal dude. And so I feel like I learned the doctrine in a fun way, as a missionary, and now I can teach it in Jared's way without limitations and stuff like that. So I'm really excited.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I think it was very similar for me, honestly, because I had this YouTube channel I had in touch for like, nearly 2 years. My brother had worked on it a little bit before he went for his mission. And I had a lot of momentum. I got home and I was super excited. I literally like the day after I got home. So within 24 hours, I was on my knees praying with one of my friends and his family, like shared a Book of Mormon with them. Like
Let's
it,
go.
it didn't like lead to anything really, but it
You were
was
just
cool
going.
because he was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, my son is having a rough time." And I was like, "Well, Second Nephi too. Like there's opposition in all
Yeah.
things, fall, all that
Yeah.
stuff." And he's like,
Yes.
"Dude, this is
It just comes
baller.
second nature.
This is great." And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And then, you have to kind of hold yourself back sometimes, which what I've been learning. But it's like in the moment, it's like, yeah, let's pray for him and everything, and it was great.
Yeah.
And so I got to be the assistant ward mission leader in my, congregation in the ward, shortly after. And so I was able to keep going. However, after graduating from college, there was so little momentum, no job. I was frustrated. I, had my podcast that wasn't, growing like I wanted it to. I had some, my first relationship had come and gone. It was like there's a lot of things. And so there's so little momentum. And guess what? President Nelson, the prophet of the world, we believe, in the church, guess what he talked about? Spiritual momentum.
Spiritual momentum.
So
I just listened to the talk this morning. Re-listen to it. It's a good one.
I wanted to ask you, like, why do you think he talked about that? And not
Well, I
just,
think,
yeah.
yeah, well, I feel like momentum can be a double-edged sword. You can be making progress or you can be going backwards. And I feel like if you just start the ball rolling, it just can get to the point where it's just going. Like it just, you can't stop it. I was talking, so I'm an intern at this venture capital firm, and I was talking to the guy, and he's a wizard at this stuff, really good at business. And he was talking about the first company that he made with him and his wife, and he's like, in business, you get to the point where it just clicks, and then you can try to make it stop growing, but you can't. It will just keep on growing. Like the momentum will just carry it out, and you're just going to keep on getting sales because people will buy your product, post it on social media, and then it will go to all their friends, and then they'll buy the product. And you can try to slow down the orders, but you just can't because it's just going crazy. And I feel like there's a lot of things, if we just build up good habits in our life, then we're just going to keep on going. And of course, you have to make the daily efforts and stuff to make sure that you are moving in the right direction. But you're just going to get to the point where it just clicks and you keep on going. It gets easier to do the right thing.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I love the concept of the virtuous cycle, right? And virtue is of course power and strength. There's that quote that says, "My strength is as the strength of 10 because my heart is pure," right? And so like there's so much power once we get some kind of virtuous cycle going in our lives. There's things we look forward to all the time. I've been writing a newsletter every week recently that I love doing. I've been running a couple times a week, although it started with just one little run, once a week. And so I've just been building that up to a point where it's like, hey, if I go on a run, like yesterday, I like went on my run and it was kind of slow and it was freezing, but it's like, it's a win. It's a W. It's like, it's consistent, and we're building so much, I'm building a lot of consistency with that. And so that's given me a lot of joy. I think yesterday is my like 15th or 16th run in a row, on a Thursday. Right. And I've been tracking
That's
all of
awesome.
them. Yeah, thanks. And I'm trying to get my mile down to 5:30 because my best in high school is a 5:39. I'm not sure how. I know you
That's
ran,
so good.
but I'm trying to beat my old PB.
I like it. Mine is 5:41. So you've got me beat.
2 seconds.
2 seconds. That's awesome. That's so fast. Lightning.
I was flying that day. It was our very last track meet for me in high school. And I just kind of felt that. And it was interesting because the day before we'd had a practice and my leg was kind of acting up. And I got a priesthood blessing from my dad. We believe, in the church of having the priesthood and being able to give blessings for people, just kind of like Jesus did. And, something that was said in the blessing, I don't really remember much, but I just felt better and that things were going to be fine. And I give a lot of credit to that. Like when I was running, it was like all of it just culminated in that moment. Like all of those slow runs, all those fast runs, everything in between, where like my legs were like perfectly extending and I was just booking it run after run. And I was like, what is the time right now? And then like, my coach was looking at me on the last race, was like, I think she might have shown me the time or whatever, but she's like, go, like you got this, go, and I've thought so much about track ever since, all that time of doing it, all those practices, because for running a mile, there's 4 laps. And for a mission, there's 24 months. And so there's 6, 12, 18, 24, and yeah, for me, well, at least for running, the third lap is usually the hardest. That's when you have to dig deep. That's the one that generally has the most impact. What was that part of your mission like? That's when you started getting into video, right?
Hmm. I think it's probably the most fun time of my mission. It was so exciting because I got the camera, but after not doing it for a year, I had to relearn a lot of things and things change online. And so I had to adapt and we had to create a system. I had to figure out how to do social media as a missionary. Um, and but 6 months, like when during my last 6 months, it was like, okay, we have a team in place, we've got a system in place. Let's pump out content. And we were just going like crazy. And then the last 6 weeks before my mission, the end of my mission, I out of nowhere, Instagram was deleted from all missionary phones. And it was like, wait, what? And they had reasons for it and stuff like that, but it was just like out of nowhere. And so I feel like that hit me like a ton of bricks because I was like, wait, we had like this whole series that was about to like get released the next day. Um, like it was scheduled to get posted, and then Instagram got deleted. And we're like, what are we supposed to do? And so at that moment, we had to adapt and focus on Facebook and do stuff like that. But it's crazy how like once you start to feel like you're making progress, another ton of bricks hits you, and you got to adapt, and it's all just to help you grow and progress. And so, I think that's what I would have to say on that.
That's good. Yeah. So there was a real need for you to change it up once that came up, and you weren't able to. You didn't have to lose a lot of that momentum. You just channeled it a different direction, and
Hmm.
so it worked out. Yeah,
Yeah, it's fun.
that's good. Yeah. So thought that came to mind when you talked about the ton of bricks. Now you have to move on in like 15 minutes, maybe or so. I'm heading to my last day at DI, and it's been good to me. I was thinking about it. It's like, for one, I'm making a podcast episode later about, things I learned in there. Two, like a lot of that stuff, that's all
Uh-huh.
DI stuff.
Let's go.
Like the Curious George, if you give a mouse cookie. And it's like, I think about it, it's like, if the only reason Dallin, the best thing that Dallin got out of DI, or if the only thing I got out of DI was a more baller podcast setup, like more cool stuff in the background, then it's a win. But I also made a tiny bit of money. I also made some new friends, and I learned some important things about myself, so, just take the W's.
Good chapter. That's super good.
Yeah. So how is the YouTube creating? How has that like changed you? And how do you think that helped you create things like on your mission and go forward with this video idea? So it didn't just exist in your head and not actually be enjoyed by other people.
Well, I feel like you got to have a balance between consumption and creation. And so I think a lot of times it's easy to get into the loop of consuming, but if you consume too much and not create enough, you feel gross. And so I feel like you need to find a balance. And of course, not every day is 50-50. Some days you're creating a lot more, some days you're only consuming. But trying to have both into your life, I feel like brings a lot of harmony and peace into my life because I find when I can feel like I made progress in the day, like I found this out when I was 16, like if I can see progress, I'm so much happier. And so when I would feel down, I would just be like, all right, I'm gonna do yard work. I'm gonna clean the entire house. My mom loved it because our house was clean. But like when I was having that rough day, I would just go pull weeds because I could literally see this is a mess. Now it's clean. And something about seeing progress is so satisfying. And I think video creation is a wonderful outlet because you can be like, all right, I came up with an idea. Wrote the script. I filmed it, edited it, and click publish. And you can do that all within a day and get feedback. And then with that feedback, create another thing the next day. And it's just so cool how social media has just totally changed the world of consuming information. It's bonkers.
Yeah, just being able to grow like things quicker and being able to better understand what your audience wants. I mean, that is so ridiculously valuable. And the data that we're all getting access to is also super crazy. I remember, so I've been following YouTube a really long time, like 2012 or 2013. I found out about video creators and Daryl Eves and stuff, who's now worked for Mr. Beast and stuff. I remember way
Uh-huh.
before then. But
Yeah.
I remember when click-through rates were getting introduced on YouTube. He's like, this is huge. Like, we're gonna see
Yeah.
like
This is
how many
big.
times we're gonna see whenever anybody gets a thumbnail, like how many times they actually click through. Like that's
Yeah.
huge.
Which is, yeah.
And now we've way more than that.
Yeah. It's so crazy what we can do with it. Yeah. I think I started my YouTube channel in 2013. Like, and I watched Daryl Eves, there Tim Schmoyer, like all of those
Yes.
YouTube guru guys. Some good stuff.
It was some really good stuff. Yeah. And
Did you know Daryl Eves is a member
I
of the
did.
church?
Yeah. Yeah. He's a
He's
member of
so
the
cool.
church. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
so
like to,
cool.
I'd like to get him on. He's like, helped with I think he's the CEO of The Chosen, maybe not. Or he did like that. And he also has done like, Vid Summit, and he's the man. He's the
Yeah,
man.
he's
So
cool.
he's a cool
That's
guy.
awesome.
Yeah. So talk with us a little bit about like the missionary box and things you're doing in your life now, what you're excited for. I know you have a marriage coming up, in 2023. And what are
Yes,
some other things going on?
March is the marriage. I'm excited. Yeah, it's a fun stage of life coming home. Things pick up fast. It's super fun. Um, so yeah, so my brother and I, well, I guess let me go back to the beginning. Once I got home from my mission, I was chatting with some of my missionary buddies and their parents. And I was talking this to like a missionary friend and one of my companions, both of their moms, and they're both said like, "What do you send missionaries in birthday packages? Like, what do you even send them in like a package?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Well, I don't know. It's like if something's too big for transfers, I don't know even know what's useful. Like, what would missionaries even want, and what's even allowed with the rules?" And I was like, wow, is this a struggle that a lot of parents have? And so I started asking my other friends that have parents on their mission. I asked all their parents, and I was like, is it a hard time to find packages? Like, oh my goodness, let me tell you how hard it is to make a missionary package. I was like, what? Is there not a solution to this? So I started like Googling stuff, and there's like a few things on Etsy, and like Desert at Book has all this stuff. But the thing was, none of it was created from an RM. It was all created from moms guessing to know what was good. And it was like, this, like, in the nicest way possible. I was like, I wouldn't want any of these things to be sent to me as a missionary. Like if my mom sent me any of these things, it would be like kind of feeling weird, Because it needs to be from like an RM that has lived that life. And so I told my brother, I was like, what if we made like a missionary gifting business or whatever? And he's like, that's kind of a cool idea. And then we talked about it and we're like, wait, subscription boxes. Let's make a missionary subscription box. And we make like a community around this box that comes every month. And our whole entire idea is like missionary work, though it's super fun and exciting, there's also hard days where you're like, man, this is really rough. And so our goal is like, if we can make a missionary smile and like stay out a little bit longer because they have a box, they're like, oh yeah, next Tuesday, I'm going to get one of those silly boxes that my mom sends me. Like, that would be an absolute dub if we can help someone find more joy in their mission because we're sending little boxes. So and a long story short, it's a monthly hype box to make missionaries' lives more fun. I took a lot of the traditions that I had on my mission and my brother had on his mission, like the inside jokes and stuff. We're putting it all into a box, like fun things to do with your companions, fun gifts to give to friends that you're teaching, and stuff like that. And it comes every month to their door. And once we run out of ideas, we've been having a lot of the missionaries that we've already sent boxes to send us ideas of what they want in future boxes. So eventually it will stop being Bryce and my ideas. It will eventually be the missionaries that are currently serving, so it can stay relevant to what missionaries actually want and need in the field. So
Yeah, because first time I heard the term missionary box was your missionary box podcast, which I listened to and was great. But then, I was on Instagram a couple of days ago and I was like, wait a second, this is a bigger thing than just the podcast. And I saw the link and I clicked on it and I was like, wait a second, we're gonna have to talk more about this. So I'm glad you dove deeper into that. That's sick. Like that's awesome. I mean, I can't tell you of some of the companions that would dread getting on email every Monday because like their parents wouldn't know like what to say, and so they just send him like all their drama and stuff going on. And he's
yeah,
like, this is what I get every week. And I'm like, dude, if I got that every week, it would not be good. My parents did
yeah,
a
I wouldn't
really
look
good
forward to P-Day.
my parents did a pretty good job. Both my parents, would send me emails and like, hey, we took this person, to the zoo, or this happened or whatever, so it is a very delicate messaging. So like the fact that the missionary box is born from, you and not like, again, somebody else that's like, oh, I know what works, that just screams, yes, this is going to help missionaries. This is going to help people in general, because I'm really been fascinated by the butterfly effect, right? That, butterfly can like flap its wings and like start a
Hmm.
hurricane and like somewhere else is the kind of the idea. It's been scientifically proven with some things, just like there will be some more ripple effects than we can imagine, different tidal waves from those tiny little ripple effects. Because maybe some missionary will get it and it'll really help or answer a prayer. And then they'll be more prepared to, talk to somebody they're teaching or just talk to somebody on the street. And then it just goes and goes and goes. So, dude, that's sick. Way to go.
I'm really excited. And what's fun is like it makes it so easy for parents to sign up. They sign up once and they don't have to think about it, and boxes are just being shipped to them. They don't have to worry about like how to do shipping, taking it to the post office. Like everything is done. They like fill out their birthday, which mission, when they started, so then it'll stop paying like auto billing them at the end of the thing. And then for their birthday, like for their missionary box, we'll put candles and like party poppers and things to spice up their birthday month. And so I just feel like it's a fun thing. It makes the parents' job easier, and the missionaries get something that is fun for them and approved and stuff. So I'm excited. And what's cool is if one companion has it, then both of them benefit because there's stuff for both of them in every single box. And so, like you said, the butterfly effect, like at transfers, there's another person that's going to get benefited from one of the companions having the box, which is kind of cool. So,
That's dope, dude. That's dope. So how much does it cost to like subscribe to a box and a little bit look into that? I'm a little curious.
yeah, so the pricing that we have, we wanted to keep it simple. So like tax and everything is included in $39.99 a month. So tax and shipping is all in that one price point. So
I love that.
39.99.
That's good. I think of, it just depends on how much you value that experience, right? There's some people who hear that, it's like, oh, that sounds great. And there's other people, it's like, oh, that's way too expensive. But it's like, think of other subscriptions that you have right now. I think the world
Hmm.
is trending towards getting way more of these subscriptions that actually benefit them. I love
Hmm.
Netflix, I love Hulu, I love Disney Plus, but how much do they really actually benefit me?
Hmm.
The answer is not a ton. I get to
Yeah.
consume. How much does this help me create? It doesn't really. That's
Hmm.
why I signed up for Skillshare recently. I signed up for, Buffer to schedule out posts. Obviously, I have
Yeah, I love
Buzzsprout
that.
already for my podcast. It's like it's kind of a no-brainer. If it's going to
Hmm.
help you to become who you want to be or help others in your family, I mean, it's a no-brainer. And it
Yeah.
becomes and the thing about that too is it's not like it's going to be for a really long time either. It's like you're paying for the denseness, you're paying
Yeah.
for, these hyper concentrated packages to help in times of need. Yeah, dude, it's
Yeah.
baller. I'm gonna have to
I
talk more about that someday, but
yeah, no, I think it's a fun concept that you put out there though. Like buy subscription things that are going to help you increase your productivity or improve your life. Um, Something else that is a fun point that my brother pointed out to me the other week. He's like, even if like the missionary isn't paying for their own mission and the mom and dad are paying for their mission, like it's like 400 or 500 a month. I know that I think is around that range, but he's like, compared to how much most parents pay for an 18-year-old at home, they're paying way more per month for that 18-year-old to have car insurance and health insurance and all of this stuff. He's like, they're saving money by sending out their kid on their mission. Adding 39.99 to spice up their mission is a no-brainer. That's like still cheaper than them being at home. And they're gonna enjoy their mission because it's a fun thing. And I was like, that's an interesting point, Bryce. Like they're still saving money and they're spicing up their kids' life and making it more fun. So that's the
that's
fun.
cool.
When my brother pointed that out to me, I was like, okay, that makes sense. So kind of cool.
So how long after the mission did Missionary Box get launched?
Like 2 months.
Wow.
So I got it home in July. I was talking with some people, and then I think it was September, that my brother and I were like, all right, let's go full steam into this. So July, October, July, August, September. So I got home at the end of July. So about 2 months is when we first started like, okay, we're gonna build this thing. And then we started ordering inventory. We got suppliers and stuff to custom make stuff for us. Shipped it to my brother's house. That's our warehouse for the time being. The grind. And then we got the LLC. We did all the paperwork with the government. And so we became an official business in like October. And then we launched the first box in November, got our first few orders. And so we've done the November box and December box, and now we're getting ready for the January box because every single month it's a new theme to go with what holiday it is. So, um, but it's been so fun. I've been learning so much. If this company goes bankrupt, it's not going to be a failure in my opinion because I am learning so much, like building a website from scratch, like social media marketing. And the great thing is, like, you can't fail when you just are doing something you know is going to make people happy. Like, even if we're in the pit the entire time and we don't break out positive, we're making people happy and we're making servants of the Lord happy. And you can't lose when you're doing that. And so we've been learning a bunch. It's been fun to figure out how to get cheaper shipping rates and get business shipping and stuff like that. So that's the whole story with that.
That's cool. Yeah. So we'll have links to all that stuff in the show notes, so you can check out more. And we'll also have Jared's links to his Instagram and stuff. So yeah. And then I guess mention the podcast really quickly, and then just any other thoughts you have before we send you out.
Oh, well, the podcast kind of goes along with the missionary box. It's basically a podcast all about returned missionaries and their stories, how to prepare to serve a mission, advice for on the mission, and advice for coming home. Um, the goal is to get both members of the church that are celebrities, but also just normal members of the church with cool stories to uplift your day. So whether you're a missionary or not a missionary, hopefully the stories are uplifting and entertaining for everyone to like. But thank you so much for having me, Dallin. This has been a party.
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, and yeah, there's definitely a lot of work to be done, and you've definitely, like, I'm taking a lot of mental notes because something I've been trying to do is decrease the gap between, like, okay, I want to do this and I'm doing it, right? So you're a great example to me of that. So yeah, thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you so much, Dallin, and best wishes with your last day. That's exciting stuff.
Yeah, 5.5 hours, and it'll be good. Just kind of appreciating, and I'm sure it'll be pretty contemplative and hopefully helping out some customers, which I enjoy. I mean, there's been a lot of things I like about it, but it's like, if I were to stay there, the opportunity cost is way, 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 way too high. I'd start to lose my mind. It's like,
Yeah,
if we're already at that point, it's like, okay, we need
yeah,
to, yeah, anyway. Cool, man.
I love
Well,
that.
yeah. So do you have any other thoughts or anything like that? Or how can people find you?
No, you're awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you got it, man. Well, keep up the good work, and thanks for coming on. And we'll definitely follow up and see how things are going in, I don't know, a year or so. We'll see.
Sounds good.
Cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Dallin.